She was born into poverty, grew up in humiliation, and was once forced to kneel on the office floor. No one ever imagined that the woman they all thought was just an ordinary worker would turn out to be the owner of the entire empire. In the morning, when the sun cast its first rays over the city of Nakamba, the office of Ikamba International buzzed with activity as usual. Employees hurriedly entered, some holding files, others talking on the phone, and some trying to avoid the supervisor, Kabamani. Amidst the crowd, a thin girl, Adissa, quietly walked in. She held an old file in her hands, wore sandals on her feet, and had a traditional African scarf on her head. The woman at the reception glanced at her from head to toe, wrinkled her nose and said, "Are you here for an interview? The line is to the right." Adissa simply replied with a brief, "Thank you," and walked in the direction given. Kabamani sat in his chair, glaring at the candidates standing in line before him. He wielded his power like a sword. When Adissa reached his desk, he immediately raised an eyebrow. "What are you here for?" "Begging," Kabamani mocked. Adissa softly replied, "I'm here to apply for a job. These clothes, this attitude. You think you're worthy of working here? First kneel and then I'll look at your file." Kabamani's voice was laced with venom. Adissa remained silent for a few moments, then, without saying a word, she slowly knelt on the floor. Silence fell over the office. Some people lowered their eyes, while others quietly chuckled, siding with Kabamani. But in Adissa's eyes, there was a light that wasn't found in an ordinary girl. She didn't protest nor did she plead. She simply sat on the floor with dignity. Kabamani picked up Adissa's file as if he were looking at something worthless. He opened it but didn't bother to glance at the documents inside. With a mocking tone he said, "People like you only waste the company's time. Go home, come back in better clothes. Maybe we'll consider you for a cleaner's job." Still Adissa said nothing. She quietly stood up, took her file back, and stepped away with calm, composed steps. Despite everything she had just experienced, there was no sign of distress on her face, as if she had known all along how things would unfold. She walked to the reception and gently said, "Please inform Chairman Amara Nyango that his guest has arrived." The receptionist turned pale. She immediately picked up the phone and spoke into the internal line. A few moments later, the door to the chairman's office opened, and an elderly man dressed in white emerged with an air of dignity. "Adissa!" he called out loudly and walked quickly toward her. Kabamani's eyes widened in shock, and once again, silence fell over the office. Chairman Amara Nyango took Adissa's hand and said with deep respect, "We knew you were coming, but we didn't expect you to arrive with such humility." Then he turned and addressed everyone in a loud, clear voice. "This is Adissa Kombo, our company's new chief executive officer. She has received a world-class education in business and is here today at our invitation." It was as if an earthquake had struck the office. All eyes were fixed on Adissa, and Kabamani's face had become a mixture of fear and shame. Adissa looked around at everyone and said, "My intention was not to humiliate you, but to see how well you measure up to the true standards of humanity." Kabamani's head was bowed, and he stood there drenched in sweat. The next day, Adissa officially assumed her position. She didn't enter the office with any royal flair, nor did she try to impose her authority on anyone. Instead, she arrived carrying a simple bag and went to sit at a regular desk in the old staff room. She said to her secretary Kibiro, "I want to meet the people working in the lower-level jobs first. I want to know what's in their hearts." Kibiro, already impressed by Adissa's humility and wisdom, quickly brought the files and began introducing her to each and every employee. When Adissa met with the kitchen staff, cleaning ladies, and warehouse workers, everyone was stunned that the new CEO was shaking their hands, asking about their well-being, and taking the time to listen to their problems. Mama Najuma, who had been working in cleaning for years, had tears in her eyes. She held Adissa's hand and said, "My daughter, you are blessed by God. In you we've seen hope." Here, Kaba Mani's condition was deteriorating day by day. He would sit wrapped in a cloak of shame, and the office staff no longer felt the fear they once associated with him. Adissa had not dismissed him. Instead, every day as she passed by his office, she would say just one sentence: "Change is not a punishment. It is an opportunity." These words began to echo in Kaba's heart. He knew he had committed a great wrong, but now he was determined to change himself. Within a few weeks, the atmosphere at Ikamba International began to change. Conversations that were once whispered behind closed doors were now being held openly. Employees began to speak freely about their concerns, and Adissa held an open meeting every week where anyone could speak, whether they were a janitor or a senior manager. In this week's meeting, Adissa presented a new initiative in front of everyone. One Vision, One Voice. A program where every employee in the company would be an equal stakeholder, and opportunities for growth would be open at every level. Everyone was stunned. They were not only impressed by Adissa's words, but also felt ashamed that they had not respected her before. In that very meeting, Adissa took an unexpected step. "I want Kaba Mani to lead our reflection and guidance program. He has learned himself. Now he can help others learn." The entire room fell silent. Kaba Mani stood up, startled. His voice trembled. I'm not worthy of this." Adissa smiled and said, "Worthiness isn't measured by knowledge, but by intention. And now, there is a light of true intention within you." Kaba Mani bowed in respect to Adissa. This was the same man who had once forced her to kneel and beg for forgiveness, and today, he himself was bowing humbly, ready to begin a new journey. "I promise," Kaba Mani said, "I will show a path where those who walk it will never look down on others." Adissa replied, "That's exactly why I chose you, because only those who have fallen know how to lift others up."